It's the Bleav in Steelers postgame show. Pittsburgh falls to 3-1, and the Colts knock off the Steelers 27-24. Welcome into the Bleav in Steelers show. My name is Mark Bergin, and before I get into my thoughts about this thrilling game, it was too little, too late for the Steelers. I want to tell you a little bit about today's presenting sponsor, and that is BetOnline.ag. With me just a second. Today's sponsor of Bleav in Steelers brought to you by BetOnline.ag. It's NFL Week 4. Week 5 is just around the corner. If you want to get in on the NFL action, BetOnline.ag is the place to do it. You can use our promo code Bleav, that's BLEAV, BLEAV, to get started over at BetOnline.ag. BetOnline, the game starts here. Steelers fall short against the Colts. It's too little, too late, and I thought that the deficit, down 17 points, was just too much for the Steelers. The Steelers, with a great comeback, Justin Fields leading Pittsburgh down on several scoring drives, but you go down 17-0 on the road, and it's awfully tough to win. And late in that game, Najee Harris not going out of bounds, the fumbled snap as well, which knocked the Steelers back 12 yards. I thought they should have called the timeout to try to collect themselves. I credit Fields for trying to make something happen and to throw the ball past the sticks down the field to try to convert on that 4th and 10, but it's too little, too late, and just too big of a deficit. Now, I thought Fields did some good things today. He finishes 22 of 34, 312 yards. So this was just Fields' second career game for passing for more than 300 yards in a game. He took 4 sacks, and he had 2 rushing scores, 55 yards on the ground. Fields on 10 rushes was Pittsburgh's leading rusher in this game. 5.5 yards per carry for Fields. But just the play-by-play, it was the turnovers. And I thought a key play in the game in the first half was when George Pickens fumbled. Steelers are trying to go down for a score in the red zone, and Pickens is trying to extend across to the pylon to try to score, and he was unable to do that. And then also there was a fumble with Fields, and other than that, I thought he played a really, really solid game. But the Steelers lose the turnover battle 2-0. I thought that was a key coming into today's game. And then the Steelers actually did end up winning time of possession. They had the ball for a little bit more than 31 minutes, but the defense wasn't quite good enough today. And they fall, they're 3-1. Now, people are probably freaking out and saying, you know, how can we lose a game that we were expected to win? But if you look at the first quarter of the season, to be 3-1 to start this season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think you would take that after 4 weeks of football. But they fall short today and they lose to the Colts. But I thought other than those things, I thought Fields played really well in the second half overall, and he nearly leads the Steelers back from a comeback. And facing a deficit in the clock, I thought Fields played pretty well down the stretch. After that fumble, the Steelers punted, the Colts punted, and then after that fumble with Fields in the third quarter, Justin Fields led the Steelers to 3 consecutive touchdown drives. And they turned the ball over on downs on the final drive of the game as the clock is dwindling. And it was too little, too late. It was too little, too late. And I don't think that the defense played great today. I thought Fields played really well in the second half, but 3 points in the first half against even better competition, you might not even have the opportunity to be able to mount a comeback. And so I would have liked to see them keep it a little bit closer. Another thing I thought as well is when the Steelers were down 14 and they scored to cut it to 24-17, I thought that the Steelers should have gone for 2. Just metrics tell you when you're down 14, you score a touchdown, you have 2 opportunities for 2-point conversions. The Steelers opt to go for the extra point to make it 24-17. Colts go back and get a field goal. And then again, the Steelers, with limited time left in the fourth quarter, down 2 scores. Fields and this offense marched right down the field, capped off by a touchdown pass to tight end Pat Freiermuth. But again, on the final drive, the Steelers not able to get it done. I thought injuries played a bit of a factor. I mean, no Jalen Warren today, no Alex Highsmith today. Saymalu still working his way back. He didn't play either. So you had Mason McCormick, Spencer Anderson at the guard position. But you're 3-1. You've lost, but 3-1 to start out the season is not the end of the world. And I also thought that it was significant with Anthony Richardson going down in this game, and that Joe Flacco goes and beats you. And there might not be a quarterback on the planet that has more experience playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, given all the years that Flacco was in Baltimore and then Cleveland this last year. I thought Flacco played really, really well for a 39-year-old quarterback coming in for an injured Anthony Richardson, injured his hip on a play where he was trying to slide and he was hit by Minkah Fitzpatrick. But I thought this was the worst the Steelers defense has played thus far this season. And I thought that Joe Flacco had Pittsburgh's number defensively. I know Herbig got in on the mix at the end of the game to at least give the Steelers an opportunity to either kick a game-tying field goal late or to go with the go-ahead touchdown. I really thought that the clock management, that the Colts made a mistake in not running the ball on, I think it was 3rd and 16, 3rd and 17 late in that game to get it closer to the 2-minute warning and to force Pittsburgh to use its final timeout. And I also thought that Mike Tomlin could have called a timeout after the fumble with Fields. It knocked him back to, I think it was 2nd and 22. Najee Harris gets some yardage. He should have gone out of bounds, but a 4th and 10, and the Steelers are unable to convert. And it's a turnover on downs on the final drive of the game, and the Colts escape with a victory. Those are kind of my thoughts about the Steelers in the postgame show. A lot of comments. Let's get to what Yinz think where we bring in viewer comments. And if you like this show, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. I go live after every Steelers game, and I like to bring in what the fans think as well. If you feel so inclined to, you can financially support this show in the super chat over on YouTube. Eddie Long's checking in saying no running game. As I bring his comment on the screen, that needs to be fixed now. Eddie brings up a good point here because, again, Fields was the leading rusher for the Pittsburgh Steelers today on 10 carries. Remember, you didn't have Jalen Warren in this game, but Fields had 10 carries for 55 yards. The Steelers overall finished with 121 yards on the ground. George Pickens, 7 receptions, 113 yards through the air. The Steelers had more than 400 yards of offense, but really the big difference in this one, the 2 turnovers for the Steelers offense. The Colts didn't have any turnovers, but Fields was your leading rusher today for Pittsburgh with 55 yards rushing. Cordero Patterson had 43 yards on the ground on his 6 carries. Najee Harris, 13 carries, only 19 yards. Yikes. That is not good for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Eddie, thank you for checking in and thank you for your comment. Autumn checking in and saying she's happy and commends the Steelers for never giving up. Autumn, thank you for checking in there. Just too many mistakes today. Too many mistakes for the Steelers. And again, I thought it was the worst that the defense played overall this season. I think the Steelers defense has been dominant at times this season, but Flacco came in and absolutely carved this team up. They couldn't get his number. And again, the turnovers, I said, whichever team wins the turnover battle coming into today's game is going to end up winning. Again, the Steelers actually one time of possession had the ball for more than 31 minutes today, but it was the turnovers that ultimately doomed the Steelers. And 2 huge plays, the fumble and early on in the third quarter by Fields, and then Pickens trying to cut into that. I think it was a 17-0 deficit at that point, and Pickens is trying to reach for the pylon and try to get every yard he can to try to get into the end zone, but he was unable to do it. And there was that play. There was a play where the Steelers ended up scoring on a Fields touchdown where Fields connected with Pickens and it hit him right in the hands. If you're a wide receiver 1 in this league, those are plays that you have to make. And I know that's not anything George Pickens wouldn't expect to hear, but just too many mistakes. And I thought that fumble that Pickens had in the second quarter was a huge, huge play in this one. Let me get to some other comments. Casual Friday checks in, says Pickens thinks he's playing ultimate frisbee. Casual Friday, that's a funny comment. Casual Friday also asking this question: which quarterback starts next week? Let me ask you this, right? Has Justin Fields done anything to say that he shouldn't be your starter? He gave the Steelers a chance at the very end. Najee Harris has got to go out of bounds. You can't have snap issues on the final drive of the game. Again, I'm a proponent. I think the Steelers should have called a timeout. to try to regroup and draw something up and scheme something up. That final play left a little bit to be desired, but Fields leads this offense on 3 consecutive touchdown drives in the second half to try to mount a comeback against the Colts, but it's too little too late. I would continue to start Fields even when Russell Wilson is healthy. And I think you're going to continue the facade of, well, Russ is still working his way back from a calf injury and all of that. What has Justin Fields not done that would say, hey, let's give Russell Wilson a chance and see what he can do? Because this offense is starting to click. And when things break down, this is really back-to-back weeks where Fields has not had that great of a running game around him. He was the running game today, and he's still able to get it done. It's a point of concern. 19 rushing yards for Najee Harris. It's not just Najee. That is also the offensive line. That is not going to cut it. Hopefully that can improve when Isaiah Seumalo, your starting left guard, probably your best offensive lineman, gets back onto the field. But the rushing game last week wasn't there. They had 14 yards rushing in the first half against the Colts. Again, if you take Fields' rushing stats away, those 55 yards, not good for the Steelers' ground game today. I thought Cordero Patterson did a nice job, but the Colts really bottled up Najee Harris. 13 carries, 19 yards. That's not good enough production for Najee Harris, who is in a contract season. And he's doing all that he can do, but it just shows the importance of Jaylen Warren, who did not play today with a knee injury. Lifelong fan saying, what happened? The Steelers defense failed us today. Yeah, and especially without Anthony Richardson. The Colts go down on the first drive, score a touchdown. It was the first rushing touchdown that the Steelers defense has given up this season. Defense didn't show up today, and I thought the defense has been dominant through 3 games this year, but the defense did not get it done today. And to me, that's the bigger issue today than the offense was, even despite some of the shortcomings in the Steelers rushing game. Lifelong fan saying, what's it ever going to take for the quarterback center exchange? This is an issue that we've seen with Justin Fields in this offense dating back to the preseason, and hopefully it's one that doesn't need to continue any longer. I really thought that stalled the final drive. You lose 12 yards on a first down. You're trying to mount a comeback against a dwindling clock, and the Steelers only had 1 timeout. I know they wanted to keep that timeout probably to try to set up a field goal with Chris Boswell, but at that point too, maybe you still have enough time to win a game with a touchdown. So hindsight's 20/20, but yes, I am with you, lifelong fan. The quarterback center exchange, it's a fundamental part of every single play on any offense. I'd like to see those issues resolved. And again, it's something we've seen with Fields. I'd say if that's one knock I have on him thus far into this season is some of those exchanges between he and rookie center Zach Frazier. Chatty's saying not all games are the W the same way. We had a chance to win. Offense didn't come through at the end. No Big Ben. Yeah. Big Ben was notorious for that, of late in games being best late in games. That's why he's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. But yeah, the quarterback center exchange needs to get better, period, between Fields and Frazier. If there was one criticism I would have, it would be that. But, you know, this vaunted Steelers defense too, you've had back-to-back weeks now for as good as this defense has played where you haven't had a takeaway defensively. So as good as they played last week against the Chargers in the -5 yards of total offense for Los Angeles a week ago, no takeaways in back-to-back weeks, and the Steelers had 2 today. And that was both of those plays where the Steelers lost fumbles were absolutely huge. Self-inflicted errors, and the Colts didn't have them, even with the backup in Joe Flacco filling in for Anthony Richardson. I hope Anthony Richardson doesn't miss substantial time just because he missed all of his rookie year with that shoulder injury, leaving today's game with the hip injury. It looked like he was trying to slide, but he had some contact with Minkah Fitzpatrick. I hope we get to see Anthony Richardson back on the field just because he is very exciting. And this Colts team took it right to the Steelers on the very first drive of the game, scoring on a rushing touchdown. Theron checking in. Theron, I don't know if you've checked in. Welcome into Bleav in Steelers, saying the rush defense needed Highsmith. This was something where I was very excited to see what Nick Herbig could do with his first opportunity with extended snaps, but I did say this as well. Highsmith has at least 20 pounds on Herbig, and Highsmith just has a little bit more weight, and that helps establish the edge in the ground game. I mean, there's a reason Jonathan Taylor is as good a back as there is in the league. Taylor today, 21 carries, 88 yards rushing, had a rushing score as well. So 4.2 yards per carry for Jonathan Taylor. He had 3 catches for 20 yards in the backfield. Michael Pittman Jr., 6 catches, 113 yards. Josh Downs, 8 catches, 82 yards. A score there. Drew Ogletree as well scored on a 15-yard touchdown pass for the Colts as well. So I thought they did a decent job of bottling up Jonathan Taylor, but the other Colts skill position players able to take advantage today. And a 17-point lead is just too big of a deficit, and it was just too big of a deficit for Pittsburgh today. Rico's agreeing with me here. And Rico, thanks for checking in. Welcome to Bleav in Steelers, saying it was more of the defense. The defense gave up 17 points off the top. In any game, if you go down 17-0 and you still have an opportunity to win, that's why I credit the Steelers offense. Now, it didn't end the way that we wanted to see today. You can't have those quarterback center exchanges, but they had the opportunity in 3 consecutive touchdown drives for Fields in the offense. They really took the handcuffs off Justin Fields because you couldn't rely on the ground game. Number one, because it wasn't very effective. But then number two, you're not just facing the deficit, you're also fighting the clock as well. I thought Fields played really well in the second half and putting the team on his back. I would continue to start him. Week 5 against the Cowboys, he would be my starter. Through 4 games, you're 3-1. And he might have played even better than he did a week ago, given the circumstances of the game. Again, that's not to absolve what happened in the first half, but he gave Pittsburgh a chance to either tie or go on and win the game. They're just not able to get it done on the final drive of the game. So you like to see a different result if you're Pittsburgh. If that center quarterback exchange at the end there in the shotgun formation, you lose 12 yards, if that play doesn't happen, do you go down and get a game-tying field goal? Do you go and get a game-winning score? The criticism I have, too, is, again, when you were down 14, you score a touchdown to cut it to 24-17. Analytics say go for 2 instead of just the extra point to make it 7. If you get the 2-point conversion, that's only a 6-point game. And then a field goal not only ties the game late, it potentially goes and wins the game. And if you don't get the 2-point conversion, then you have another opportunity if you go down and score another touchdown. But that's just my opinion. It's what modern football says to do. If you're down 14 points and you score a touchdown, is to go for the 2-point conversion. And you have 2 opportunities. It helps statistically with your team. But the Steelers coaching staff felt, hey, let's kick the extra point with Boswell and make it a 7-point game. Lifelong fan checking in saying Pittman hurt us bad today. Yeah, I mean, this is I'd have to think about this a little bit more, but the best a receiver has played against the Steelers secondary in some time. I know Joey Porter Jr. is considered a lockdown corner, but not able to get it done today. And Pittman, I thought, had a very good game for the Colts. Faustino checking in. Faustino, welcome in, saying, can't take points off the boards running backwards when in field goal position. Fumbling in the red zone is inexcusable. Needed a perfect second half to win the game. I think the last point you make there, Faustino, is spot on. A perfect second half because thankfully Boswell's reliable. He knocks through a 50-yard field goal as the end of the first half ends to cut it to 17-3 at halftimes. 3 points in a half. Again, too big of a deficit for the Steelers. And I don't know what adjustments they made in the second half offensively, but the ground game outside of Fields, Patterson was all right in the touches that he had. 6 carries for 43 yards for Patterson, but he didn't finish the game either. And the Steelers had to bring in Aaron Shamklin. I apologize about the pronunciation there. But remember, Jaylen Warren wasn't playing today. So the ground game, other than Fields and Patterson, again, Patterson had an injury, just wasn't good enough with this Steelers offense. I liked what Pickens did, but you can't fumble in the red zone. I am with Faustino there as well. Faustino, thank you for checking in. Philip saying each week the Steelers score 1 more touchdown. Hey, if you could get to 30 points next week against the Cowboys, and I think you have the opportunity to, because outside of Micah Parsons, this is a Cowboys defense that hasn't been very good this season. Philip, thank you for checking in, and great observation there about the Steelers offense. J Miller Gaming sent Fields is QB1 at least 1 more week. I think he played good after the fumble. I thought he played outstanding after the fumble in the third quarter. 3 consecutive touchdown drives and at least giving the Steelers chance late in the game. I thought Fields was very good. Too little, too late. You want to see a score. again, I would have given a timeout on that fourth down play to say, let's draw something up. And then if we get down into the opposing team's territory, into the Colts territory, then we could spike the ball and we'll figure out a way to get the field goal unit on. But they opted to try to keep that final timeout because had they converted on fourth down, maybe you save that timeout for later in the drive. So too little, too late. We'll see. We'll see. I think I've said that so many times here on the live show. Lifelong fans saying we should have won today. Too many mistakes. Perhaps you lose the turnover battle 2-0 today. To me, that's the biggest, most glaring thing. And it's when those turnovers came. Third quarter, when you only have so many possessions in the second half, down 17-3, entering the third quarter. And then the red zone fumble by George Pickens in the second quarter when you were trying to cut into that deficit. Those are my thoughts. There's 70 people watching, so if there's more comments, please let me know what you think. This is the Bleav in Steelers post-game show. And Lawrence checking in. Lawrence Owen from Bleav in Colts, who we had on to preview this game in this Week 4 matchup. And I know Lawrence was live on his feed checking in saying the bad snap sack was the big break for the Colts. Steelers up to that point looked unstoppable in the second half. And I think Lawrence is referring to the one late in the fourth quarter between Zach Frazier and Justin Fields, because other than that fumble in the third quarter, I think Fields played really well in the second half, 3 straight touchdowns, but not able to get it done late, turn it over on downs, and the Colts escape with a 27-24 victory. So Week 5, the Steelers host the Dallas Cowboys. It'll be the second home game for Pittsburgh, and it'll be on Sunday Night Football. I know Mike Tomlin always does a great job getting his team ready for prime time matchups, and that's what this will be. I'd imagine that the Steelers will be favored at home. Cowboys are coming off that Thursday night win over the Giants, so they have extra time to prepare for Pittsburgh, but this Cowboys defense has not looked great this season, and I don't know if Micah Parsons is going to be able to go because, remember, he left that Thursday night game with some sort of lower body injury. So we will make sure that you stay updated in advance of the Week 5 matchup, but the Steelers host the Cowboys next up. And if you're me and Mike Tomlin, do you name Justin Fields the outright starter through 4 games? I like what I've seen. I think he's done what you've asked him to do. And remember, you went into that Week 1 game against the Atlanta Falcons to where we all thought that Russell Wilson was going to be the starter. So I am curious to see how long the Steelers continue to say, no news, we'll continue the facade that Russell Wilson can't go due to the calf injury, but I would continue to start Justin Fields even after some of the snap issues today that we saw, but I think he's played well. And right now for me, this is 2 games where my bigger concern is your ground game has not been able to get going. There's issues along this offensive line right now, and maybe, just maybe, when you get Isaiah Seumalo back from a pectoral injury, that can help shore things up for the Steelers. But that's just how I feel right now. Of Fields has got to be your starter moving forward. And then you've got to figure out how you get a push up front along the offensive line to get the running game going. And how do you get the running game going of players not named Justin Fields? Because Justin Fields today, as good as he was a week ago against the Chargers, he might have been even better today. Too big of a deficit for the Steelers to overcome. Down 3 scores, 17-0. They rally back, but too little, too late. Colts hang on 27-24. My name's Mark Bergin. Thank you to all of you for making this part of your Sunday. If you enjoy Bleav in Steelers, leave us a 5-star review. You'll be able to listen to this on Apple and Spotify. We've got great shows, great guests throughout the week. I'm live after every Steelers game as well, so you can hop in, make this part of your Sunday and part of your weekend. Thank you so much for watching and listening. My name is Mark Bergin. I'll be back this coming week. More exciting guests on Bleav in Steelers. If you're not subscribed already, I'm telling you, we've got someone big lined up for this week. So make sure that you're subscribed to Bleav in Steelers and the Mark Bergin YouTube page. My name's Mark Bergin. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Steelers fall to 3-1 after today's loss against the Indianapolis Colts. Hope all of you have great rest of your weekends. I'll see you this upcoming week. Until then, take care, and so long, everybody.